Another day, another story. Northwestern Turkey, the county's most densely populated region and industrial heartland, has been struck by two massive earthquakes in less than 3 months in 1999. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, turn the notification on so whenever we come up with new video you are notified. The first, on the 17th of August 1999 at 3:02 local, measured 7.4 on the Richter scale and lasted 45 seconds. Izmit, an industrial city of than 1.2 million in western Turkey, was nearest the epicenter. The official death toll stands at 17,480, with some 44,000 people injured, nearly 300,000 homes either damaged or collapsed and more than 40,000 business premises similarly affected. On the day of the catastrophe, the Turkish government declared a state of emergency and requested international assistance. The International Federation immediately launched an appeal, and many foreign rescue teams were deployed to help local rescue teams on ground. The disaster was followed by more than 1,300 aftershocks, culminating in the second quake, which shook Düzce and Kaynarca in the northwestern province of Bolu, some 100 kilometers, 63 miles, to the east of Izmit for 30 seconds, at 1857 on the 12th of November 1999 and rated 7.2 on the Richter scale. The jolt was felt both in Istanbul, some 260 kilometers to the west, and Ankara, the nation's capital, 300 kilometers to the east. Another big earthquake hit the city of Bingöl, eastern part of Turkey, on 1 May 2003, killing 176 people, mostly elementary school kids sleeping in their dormitory. The quake came at 3:27 local time, lasting for about 17 seconds with a Richter scale of 6.4. Then on 23 October 2011, a 7.2 magnitude earthquake hit the province of Van and its district Erciyes in eastern Anatolia at 13:41 local time, killing 644 people. On 24 January 2020, a 6.8 magnitude earthquake hit the provinces of Elazig and Malatya at 20:55 local time, killing 38 people and injuring over 1,600. On 30 October 2020, a 6.6 magnitude, some sources say 6.9 to 7.0, earthquake in the Aegean Sea hit Izmir and surroundings, killing 114 people and injuring over 1,000. The quake even caused a tsunami in Sigacik, ancient Teos town. The Izmit earthquake occurred at 3:02 local time, and was centered at 40.702 degrees N, 29.987 degrees E, which places the epicenter about 11 kilometers, 7 miles, southeast of the city of Izmit. This location indicates that the earthquake occurred on the northernmost strand of the North Anatolian fault system. The earthquake originated at a depth of 17 kilometers, about 10.5 miles, and caused right lateral strike-slip movement on the fault. Preliminary field reports confirm this type of motion on the fault, and initial field observations indicate that the earthquake produced at least 60 kilometers, 37 miles, of surface rupture and right lateral offsets as large as 2.7 meters, 9 feet. The earthquake likely occurred on a branch of the North Anatolian fault. Although this is the largest earthquake in the epicenter region in this century, the region of the earthquake has a long history of destructive earthquakes. In 1967, a magnitude 7.1 earthquake caused extensive damage along the North Anatolian fault just east of the current shock. The 900 kilometers long North Anatolian fault has many characteristics similar to California's San Andreas fault. These two faults are right lateral, strike-slip faults having similar lengths and similar long-term rates of movement. If a person is looking across a right lateral, strike-slip fault during such an earthquake, that person would see the opposite side move to the right. The North Anatolian fault has produced 7 large, MS 7.0 earthquakes in the period from 1939 through 1999. These earthquakes have ruptured the fault progressively from east to west. Following are data for the 7 large earthquakes that have progressively ruptured the North Anatolian fault. 1939 December 26. Magnitude, MS, 7.9 to 8.0. 30,000 deaths. Fault length about 360 kilometers. Initiated the eastward migration of significant earthquakes on the North Anatolian fault. Termed the 1939 Erzincan earthquake. 1942 December 20th. Magnitude, MS, 7.1. Fault length about 50 kilometers. Termed the 1942 Erbaa earthquake. 1943 November 26th. Magnitude, MS, 7.6. Fault length about 280 kilometers. Termed the 1943 Tosia earthquake. 1944 February 1st. Magnitude, MS, 7.3. Fault length about 165 kilometers. Termed the 1944 Bolu Gerede earthquake. 1957 May 26. Magnitude, ms, about 7. Fault length about 30 kilometers. Termed the 1957 Abant earthquake. 1967 July 22. Magnitude, ms, 7.1. Fault length about 80 kilometers. Termed the 1967 Mutternu Valley earthquake. 1999 August 17. Magnitude, ms, 7.8, mw 7.4-7.5. Earthquakes on the North Anatolian Fault are caused by the northwards motion of the Arabian Plate against the Eurasian Plate, squeezing the small Turkish microplate westwards. Also, compression in this region is due to the northwards motion of the African Plate, which produces subduction at the Cyprus and Hellenic arcs. The small Turkish microplate is bounded on the east by the East Anatolian Fault Zone, EAFZ. On the north by the North Anatolian Fault Zone, NAFZ, on the west by a diffuse zone of deformation surrounding the Greater Aegean region, and on the south by the Hellenic and Cyprus arcs. A major earthquake occurred 70 kilometers, 45 miles, east of Adapazari or 170 kilometers, 105 miles, northwest of Ankara, at 1857 local time on 12 November 1999. A magnitude of 7.2 was computed for this earthquake. This earthquake is located about 110 kilometers, 70 miles, east of the magnitude 7.4 main shock on August 17, which killed over 17,000 people and injured another 50,000 around Izmit. Casualty figures from this last earthquake stand around 845 confirmed dead and around 5,000 injured. The destruction in Bolu and Düzce was widespread, with the total affected population between 150,000 and 180,000. Some assessments indicated that over 18,000 buildings have been heavily damaged, and the government has estimated the financial cost of the quake at $10 billion. Industrial facilities in the area have stopped their production due to power shortages, and some have suffered major material damage. During the morning of the 17th of November, two major aftershocks, 4.9 at 02H00 and 5.0 at 10H10, were felt in the provincial capital of Bolu, bringing more fear and despair to the population as damaged buildings collapsed. About 24,000 families, 80% of the town's population, were homeless. The local crisis center in Bolu called upon rescue and humanitarian workers in Düzce for help in the middle of the night. The Prime Minister's Crisis Center, PMCC, urgently sent 10,000 tents for the affected area. Temporary houses were constructed as well. Besides Bolu and Düzce, the neighboring districts of Kayseri, 70% of the town is considered to be destroyed. Akakotsa, Kumayeri, Gumyasova, Yigilka and Golkaya have been affected. With nighttime temperatures dropping as low as -2 degrees Celsius, the majority of the region's population remained outdoors either because their homes were damaged or for fear of entering buildings, even though many appeared structurally sound. Population movements away from the region were also increasing on a daily basis. According to the PMCC, 1,000 prefabricated houses constructed in Düzce for victims of the August earthquake were been immediately reassigned to the locality. Meanwhile, many hospital facilities in the affected area were damaged and were no longer functioning. Field facilities surrounding the hospital buildings were set up immediately after the quake, with volunteer doctors and nurses coming from nearby towns to treat the injured. Severe cases were referred to hospitals both in Ankara and Istanbul. All schools in Düzce and Kayseri were closed due to damage, and they continued to teach in winterized tents or temporary buildings. State crisis centers established in Düzce and Bolu, coordinating search and rescue teams from all over the world. Some 12,000 rescue workers came to the area, and the total number of people pulled alive from collapsed buildings is estimated at 300. Rescue activities were ceased after some period, giving way to the process of debris removal. Another major earthquake hit eastern Turkey, the province of Van and its district Erciyes, on 23 October 2011, at 13:41 local time. A magnitude of 7.2 was computed for this earthquake and lasted less than 30 seconds. Hundreds of aftershocks were recorded, some being as large as 5.7 in magnitude, causing some more damage. Many buildings have collapsed during the earthquake in the city center and in Erciyes town, as well as in its villages. The death toll has reached 644 people with over 2,000 injured. Several rescue teams have immediately arrived on the spot to carry out their mission. A total of 222 residents were pulled out alive off the debris. Temporary tents and other equipments have been sent to the area. The officials are trying to replace tents with hard containers as soon as possible in order to ease the winter conditions, and then new homes were constructed within a couple of years. The Richter magnitude scale. Seismic waves are the vibrations from earthquakes that travel through the earth. They are recorded on instruments called seismographs. Seismographs record a zigzag trace that shows the varying amplitude of ground oscillations beneath the instrument. Sensitive seismographs, which greatly magnify these ground motions, can detect strong earthquakes from sources anywhere in the world. The time, locations, and magnitude of an earthquake can be determined from the data recorded by seismograph stations. The Richter magnitude scale was developed in 1935 by Charles F. Richter of the California Institute of Technology as a mathematical device to compare the size of earthquakes. The magnitude of an earthquake is determined from the logarithm of the amplitude of waves recorded by seismographs. Adjustments are included for the variation in the distance between the various seismographs and the epicenter of the earthquakes. On the Richter scale, magnitude is expressed in whole numbers and decimal fractions. For example, a magnitude 5.3 might be computed for a moderate earthquake, and a strong earthquake might be rated as magnitude 6.3. Because of the logarithmic basis of the scale, each whole number increase in magnitude represents a tenfold increase in measured amplitude. As an estimate of energy, each whole number step in the magnitude scale corresponds to the release of about 31 times more energy than the amount associated with the preceding whole number value. At first, the Richter scale could be applied only to the records from instruments of identical manufacture. Now, instruments are carefully calibrated with respect to each other. Thus, magnitude can be computed from the record of any calibrated seismograph. Earthquakes with magnitude of about 2.0 or less are usually called micro-earthquakes. They are not commonly felt by people and are generally recorded only on local seismographs. Events with magnitudes of about 4.5 or greater, there are several thousand such shocks annually, are strong enough to be recorded by sensitive seismographs all over the world. Great earthquakes, such as the 1964 Good Friday earthquake in Alaska, have magnitudes of 8.0 or higher. On the average, one earthquake of such size occurs somewhere in the world each year. Although the Richter scale has no upper limit, the largest known shocks have had magnitudes in the 8.8 to 8.9 range. Recently, another scale called the moment magnitude scale has been devised for more precise study of great earthquakes. The Richter scale is not used to express damage. An earthquake in a densely populated area which results in many deaths and considerable damage may have the same magnitude as a shock in a remote area that does nothing more than frighten the wildlife. Large magnitude earthquakes that occur beneath the oceans may not even be felt by humans. Thanks for watching.